Next, the company must obtain authorization from the customer to debit the customer's account for payment. This agreement is called a Payors PAD Agreement and must also follow the requirements set out in Rule H1. PAD agreements can be paper or electronic, but must address certain mandatory elements as set out in the rule. Let's talk a bit about each of these elements. Date and signature. In the case of a paper agreement, the customer's signature is required. If the agreement is entered into electronically, by telephone or online, for example, written confirmation of the details of the agreement, written includes email, must be provided to the customer a minimum of 3 days before the first debit. The customer's written signature is not required, but other sufficient proof of identity and authorization must be provided. Authorization to debit specific account. The account to be debited must be identified in the agreement. It is acceptable to partially mask part of the account number to protect customer privacy, but it must be identifiable to the customer. A payee may request a void check from the payor for the purpose of verifying the customer's account information. The payor should write void across the front of the check in ink and should not sign it. Amount and timing. The timing of the PADs and the amount to be debited from the customer's account must be set out in the agreement, though PADs can be flexible enough to accommodate varying amounts if the PAD agreement with the customer is set up that way. Take, for instance, a fictional chocolate company. The supplier does its regular sales rounds and finds a store is out of stock of its 70% dark chocolate bar. The supplier stocks the shelves and then debits the customer's account without obtaining authorization each time it does so, provided that this arrangement is set out in the original agreement. Cancellation. Instructions on how to cancel a PAD agreement must be provided to the customer. Biller's contact information. This must be provided for the purpose of changes to the agreement as well as for cancellation purposes. Recourse Statement. Customers must be aware of their option for recourse and reimbursement in the event of an unauthorized debit to their account. Rule H1 provides standard wording on this issue that must be included in Payors PAD agreements. Payors, whether businesses or individuals, can request that their financial institution reverse a PAD in certain instances and restore the funds to their account. We'll talk more about this process later.